It's strange. The moment you stop showing up for her, everything starts to change. Not immediately, but slowly, quietly. Almost like the world starts whispering truths she didn't want to hear before. You walking away isn't loud, it's not fireworks, it's silence, and silence hits different. Have you ever noticed how people don't realize the value of warmth until the fire goes out? They don't notice how safe your presence felt until it's gone. They don't realize the weight you carried until the room feels empty without your steadiness. Why is it that when you give too much, they take it for granted? Why is it that when you're always there, your presence becomes background noise? Why is it that the same love that was once admired becomes invisible when it's too available? It's because familiarity dulls perception, and constant giving, without boundaries, quietly kills mystery. This is where most men fall. They think giving more, proving harder, chasing faster will make her stay. But in truth, it often makes her see less, and then something powerful happens. You stop chasing, you stop trying to prove, you stop making her the center of your world, not to play games, but to protect your soul. You choose peace over begging, purpose over panic, silence over drama. And that's when she starts learning the harsh truths, truths she couldn't see while you were busy overgiving, truths that only rise to the surface when absence enters the room. This isn't manipulation, it's nature. Space reveals reality. Detachment reveals who truly values you, and the moment you walk away with calm strength, the entire dynamic shifts. But what exactly does she learn? What are those silent, piercing realizations that hit her heart after you're gone? And why do these truths often wake her up when words never could? Stay with me, because as we go deeper, you'll see how detachment isn't weakness, it's your greatest power, and these 10 harsh truths, they're what make her finally see you. Here's something most men miss. It's not what you say when you leave, it's what your absence reveals. When you step away, not with drama, not with anger, but with quiet certainty, a mirror gets placed in front of her. And that mirror doesn't show who you were, it shows what she took for granted. You ever notice how when you're always around, she stops paying attention to the small things? The good morning texts don't hit the same. The way you show up starts to feel normal. Your kindness turns into background noise. But the moment that energy disappears, suddenly every little detail starts echoing. She starts remembering how you made things easier without making a big deal. She starts replaying the way you listened when no one else did. She starts noticing the silence where your voice used to be. And here's the real twist. It's not because you became more valuable overnight. It's because your absence exposes her comfort zone. Let me ask you, why do some women only reflect when you're no longer chasing? Why do they suddenly show clarity when you stop explaining? Why is it that your silence, something so simple, can create more impact than 1,000 conversations? It's because when you were always there, she never had to feel the gap. She never had to question what it would be like if you weren't around. And humans, not just women, we don't truly see value in something that's constantly guaranteed. We see it when it's gone. But here's where most men mess this part up. They think walking away means slamming the door, cutting off, trying to teach her a lesson. That's ego, and ego kills power. Real detachment isn't a performance, it's a shift in focus. You stop making her your mission, and you make your life your mission. You create distance not to make her chase, but to make yourself whole. And when that happens, something subtle but powerful starts taking place. She begins to confront the emotional gap. She starts to realize that your presence wasn't a given, it was a privilege. Your attention wasn't ordinary, it was rare. See, most men try to explain their worth while they're still holding on, but the strongest men, they let their absence do the explaining. Think about this. When was the last time someone only started valuing you after you stopped trying to convince them? When did they finally see you when you went quiet? That's the effect of absence, when it's rooted in self-worth, not bitterness. This is where emotional power shifts, not through shouting, not through begging, but through controlled silence. You stop trying to prove, you stop trying to fix, you just let reality do the work, and guess what? That's when she starts asking herself questions she never asked before. Why does it feel different without him? Was I too comfortable? Did I overlook something rare? Those questions don't come from pressure, they come from the space you created. Detachment isn't about punishment, it's about giving both sides the chance to see things clearly. And for her, that clarity usually comes when the noise stops, and all that's left is the quiet echo of what you used to bring. Here's the part no one talks about. When you walk away, her world doesn't collapse immediately. It rearranges itself slowly. At first, she might act like nothing happened. She might scroll through her phone, hang out with friends, even post a few pictures that scream, "I'm fine." But beneath that calm surface, a quiet recalibration begins. And this is where it gets interesting. Why is it that the realization doesn't hit her right away? Why does the weight of your absence creep in like a slow echo rather than a loud bang? Why does her confidence at the start eventually turn into curiosity, then doubt, then something else? Because at first her mind runs on momentum. She's used to the rhythm of you being there, replying, checking, showing up. So when that rhythm suddenly stops, her mind tries to fill the space with distractions. But distraction has a short battery life, and when that battery dies, the silence gets loud. She starts to notice the difference between attention and presence. Attention can be replaced with likes, comments, or new people. But presence? That's harder. Your energy had a texture, a weight, a calmness that doesn't come from just anyone. And here's the real kicker. Your absence doesn't just highlight you, it exposes her patterns. Suddenly, the small ways she dismissed you start to replay in her head. The texts she ignored, the moments she thought you'd always be there. The little power games she thought she was winning, they start to feel hollow. It's like the mind hits rewind, over and over. Did I underestimate him? Was I too casual about what we had? Why does it feel different when he's not around? These aren't dramatic thoughts, they're quiet, subtle, but they grow, day by day, and the more she reflects, the more the emotional weight shifts. See, most men think the power is in making her miss you immediately. No, that's surface level. The real shift happens when time starts doing the talking for you. When her own mind starts piecing together what she overlooked. And here's something even deeper. Your absence gives her back her emotional accountability. While you were there, it was easy for her to project, blame, or stay distracted. But when you step away, calmly, without chasing, without explaining, she's left alone with herself, and that's when the real confrontation begins. She starts questioning not just what you meant to her, but how she showed up. She starts realizing that maybe she didn't bring her best self to the table. She starts feeling the weight of what she didn't give, not just what she lost. And here's the beauty of Stoic detachment. You're not waiting for this shift. You're not obsessing over whether she's realizing it yet. You've already moved your energy inward. Your focus is on your life, your mission, your growth. That's why this works, because while she's slowly recalibrating, you're evolving. While she's rewinding, you're rewriting. And let's be honest, that's what creates real power. Not chasing closure, not forcing clarity, but letting time, silence, and your unwavering direction do what words never could. The harsh truth. Sometimes she won't admit any of this out loud. She might never say, "I messed up." But the way her energy shifts when she sees you again, the way her guard drops for just a second, the way her eyes follow you differently, it says everything. This isn't about revenge, it's about alignment. When you walk away from a place of strength, the world doesn't just notice, it recalibrates around you. The invisible power of emotional distance. Have you ever noticed the moment you stop caring too much, people suddenly start caring about you? It's almost strange. When you pull back just a little, suddenly attention shifts, energy flips, interest grows. Why does that happen? Why does distance sometimes create desire, while constant closeness can quietly kill it? Let's be honest, most men don't understand this dynamic at all. They think the more they give, the more they show, the more they'll be valued. But in reality, when you're too emotionally available too soon, you remove the mystery, you take away the chase, you flatten the emotional landscape that attraction thrives on. Have you ever been in a situation where you gave her your full attention, answered every message instantly, made yourself available whenever she called, and still she began to act colder, more distant, less invested? Or maybe you showed her how much she meant to you, but instead of reciprocating, she slowly started pulling away. Why does this happen? Why does showing everything too fast make your value fade? The truth is, emotional distance is not about being cold or playing toxic games. It's about controlling the frame of interaction. See, human psychology craves what it cannot fully predict. When someone feels like they fully have you, their mind stops working for it. The chase dies. Curiosity fades. But when there's just enough emotional distance, something powerful happens. She starts investing emotionally. She starts wondering. She starts feeling the gap, and her mind tries to close it. Think about it. When was the last time you truly wanted something that was too easy to get? Probably never. The human brain attaches value to effort. This is why scarcity, mystery, and selective availability amplify attraction. Emotional distance when used consciously. But here's where most men mess it up. They either become completely needy, constantly chasing, or they swing to the opposite extreme and become cold, distant, and unresponsive. Both are weak positions. One shows desperation, the other shows insecurity disguised as arrogance. The real power is in the balanced middle, being present but not predictable, showing interest but not flooding it, giving warmth but not giving your entire emotional world away up front. This emotional distance works like gravitational tension. If you're always in her orbit, she feels no gravity. But when you step back, when your attention, your time, your emotional availability become earned, not automatic, she feels that invisible pull. She starts thinking about you more. She starts seeking your attention instead of assuming it. This is also why high-value men never chase validation. Their emotional world is not easily accessible. They protect it. They guard their energy. They know that giving everything too soon turns their presence into background noise. Here's the deeper psychological truth. People don't value what they can predict. They value what stimulates their emotional curiosity. Emotional distance isn't about punishing. It's about preserving your value by not oversaturating the connection. When you create space, you give her room to feel. When you stop over-explaining, you give her a reason to think. When you're not always the one reaching out first, she's forced to wonder where she stands, and that emotional uncertainty is what triggers genuine desire. Ask yourself, are you always available to her emotionally, or are you giving her the gift of missing you? Are you constantly feeding the connection, or are you allowing her to water it too? Because the moment you stop being the only source of energy, she starts contributing, and that's when power shifts. The silent power that makes people lean in. Have you ever noticed how some men walk into a room and instantly change the atmosphere without saying a single word? It's like their presence speaks louder than voices, their calmness commands attention, and their silence carries weight. Why is it that some men can say less but influence more, while others talk endlessly and still get ignored? Why do some men's silence make people lean forward, while others' silence makes them fade into the background? Here's the truth most never realize. True dominance is not loud, it's quiet. Real power doesn't need to announce itself, it's felt. And the rare men who understand this, they don't need to perform, they radiate. Ask yourself this: do you constantly feel the urge to prove your worth through words? Do you over-explain, over-text, or overcompensate in conversations because silence makes you uncomfortable? Do you fill every gap, every pause, every moment, just so it doesn't feel awkward? And yet, doesn't it feel like the more you try to prove yourself, the less respect you actually get? That's because when you're always talking, always trying to fill space, you're broadcasting insecurity. Silence terrifies the insecure man, because in silence there's nowhere to hide. But for the grounded Stoic man, silence is his weapon. It's not emptiness. It's intention. Think about the last time someone truly powerful looked at you and didn't rush to speak, didn't fill the air with fluff, just looked, held the space. You felt it, didn't you? That stillness created pressure. It pulled you in. That's the psychological power of silent dominance. It flips the dynamic. Instead of you leaning in, they start leaning toward you. And here's why this works so deeply. Most people are addicted to noise, verbal noise, digital noise, emotional noise. So when you remain composed and silent, it creates contrast. It forces others to feel the gap. It builds tension, curiosity, and respect. Because silence, when controlled, feels like strength. But let's make this practical. Silent dominance doesn't mean being mute or cold. It means raw. You don't rush to respond. You take your time, and that time signals that your attention is valuable. You speak with intention, not impulsiveness. Every word has weight because it's not drowned in chatter. You hold eye contact without fear, making the other person feel seen while remaining emotionally centered. You pause before answering, letting your presence fill the space, not your nervousness. Most men speak to avoid silence, but high-value men use silence to control the rhythm of interactions. They understand that whoever controls the pace controls the frame. This is especially powerful in romantic dynamics. If you're always texting first, always rushing to reply, always explaining yourself, you're reacting, not leading. But when you're not in a hurry to fill the gap, she begins to feel your absence. She wonders what you're thinking. She leans in. She invests emotionally because you've given her room to chase the energy rather than sit back and be fed constantly. Here's the deeper psychological layer. Silence creates space for projection. People project their own thoughts, emotions, and insecurities into that space. When you don't over-explain or over-justify, she starts to wonder, what's going on in his mind? Why isn't he chasing like everyone else? Why does he feel so calm? That wonder becomes intrigue. That intrigue becomes emotional investment. And the best part, silent power doesn't depend on looks, status, or wealth. It depends on your inner stability, on how well you can regulate your emotions, how comfortable you are in your own skin. The more still you are inside, the more magnetic your outside becomes. Ask yourself, do you use silence as a shield or as a sword? Are you afraid of quiet moments, or do you own them? Are you reacting to the world's noise, or making the world adjust to your silence? Because when your presence is stronger than your voice, you stop chasing attention. Attention starts chasing you. Micro-reactions. The hidden language that reveals everything. Ever notice how sometimes it's not the big things that make or break attraction? It's the tiny moments? Not the grand gestures, not the speeches, but the split-second reactions. The way your face changes when she pulls away, the way your voice shifts when she's distant, the way your energy drops the second something doesn't go your way. What if I told you that these micro moments reveal more about you than your words ever could? And what if, without even realizing it, you've been leaking your power through these little cracks? Let me ask you this. Why is it that some men lose their entire emotional center the moment they don't get instant validation? Why do so many men crumble not through big rejections, but through small indifferences? Why do some guys become reactive over a text delay, a short reply, or a change in her tone, as if their entire value is tied to her mood? Here's the hard truth. It's not the grand displays that expose you, it's your micro-reactions. The little flinch when she takes longer to respond, the subtle neediness in your tone when plans are uncertain, the way you overcompensate when you sense her pulling away. These are the moments that silently reveal your emotional dependency, and the moment she senses that your center shifts based on her behavior, attraction quietly starts to slip away. Most men think power is shown through loud confidence. No, real power is shown when you stay unmoved in the smallest, most unexpected moments. When your frame doesn't bend just because the external world threw a pebble at you. Think about it. If your entire emotional state can be shaken by a few words, a delayed text, or a facial expression, what does that say about your inner world? It shows that you're still waiting for external confirmation to feel okay, that your mood isn't truly yours, that your peace is rented, not owned. But here's the secret that the most grounded men know. Micro-detachment is where real strength lives. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about not emotionally collapsing over temporary shifts. For example, she suddenly becomes a little colder in a conversation. Instead of chasing warmth, you remain warm within yourself. She delays texting. Instead of spiraling, you continue your life, gym, work, purpose, flow. She tests boundaries with subtle sarcasm or emotional pullbacks. Instead of reacting, you calmly hold your frame and respond with poise. These moments tell her something deeper than any line could. They say, "I don't need you to regulate my emotions. I already do that. I'm not here to beg for warmth. I bring my own. I'm not easily thrown off balance. I'm built on solid ground." This subtle consistency builds respect, not through force, but through stability. And here's the real beauty. When your micro-reactions stay grounded, it creates a predictable emotional environment. That's rare. That's magnetic. Women test not to hurt you, but to feel your emotional foundation. They're unconsciously asking, can this man handle life when it's not going his way? Does he lose himself when I'm not 100% in? Is he emotionally stable enough to lead, or will he depend on me for validation? Every micro moment answers these questions, whether you speak or not, and it goes both ways. The man who overreacts kills mystery. He exposes his emotional dependency too soon. The man who underreacts strategically, however, not by suppressing, but by staying internally anchored, becomes unpredictable in the best way. He becomes intriguing, solid, rare. Now understand this. Emotional control doesn't mean emotional numbness. This isn't about pretending to be a robot. It's about learning to observe your emotional impulses instead of becoming them. When a trigger happens, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, am I reacting from insecurity or responding from strength? That split-second choice separates a man who leaks power from one who radiates it. Your ability to stay centered in these micro moments communicates more value than 1,000 alpha speeches ever could, because it's real, it's lived, it's felt. So ask yourself honestly, do your small reactions strengthen your frame or shatter it? Do you let momentary shifts dictate your worth, or do you hold your ground like a calm storm? Do you communicate strength in the in-between moments when no one's watching, no one's clapping, no one's validating? Because this is where your masculine edge is either forged or lost. And once you master this, you don't just hold attraction, you command it without even trying. The psychological shock she feels when you stop explaining yourself. Ever notice how some men talk, trying to justify, explain, or convince? It's like they're begging for understanding without realizing it. And then some men just stop. They don't explain, they don't defend, they just exist in their own space. Boom, that's when the shift hits. That's when something changes inside her mind. Why does stopping explanations create such a powerful reaction? Why does silence confuse, intrigue, and even unsettle her in a way that talking never can? Why does a man who stops explaining himself suddenly become different, hard to read, or even unreachable in the best way possible? Most men never notice this. They keep thinking attraction is built through proof, through words, through constant validation. But real attraction is built when you stop proving, when you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop trying to control her perception. Ask yourself, do you feel the need to justify every choice you make, every action, every slight shift in her mood? Do you find yourself explaining why you're busy, why you can't answer immediately, why you're not always available? Do you ever wonder why she seems to pull away when you try too hard to make her understand you? Here's the hard truth. The more you explain, the less powerful you appear. Every justification says, I need you to get me, I need you to approve me, I need you to validate me. And when she senses that dependency, even subtly, attraction quietly slips away. Now imagine a different scenario. You make a choice. You don't over-explain. You live your life. You pursue your purpose. You respond when it feels natural, not because you need to cover something. You stay grounded, emotionally independent, and calm. Suddenly, she notices. She feels it. There's a psychological tension she can't name. She wants to fill the space because it's rare. She experiences the pull of scarcity, not just in your time, but in your emotional availability, your silence, your self-sufficiency, your absence of over-justification becomes magnetic. Ask yourself again, are you giving too much explanation and losing your edge? Are you trying to control her perception instead of letting your presence speak for itself? Do you understand that true attraction isn't verbal, it's psychological? Do you know that every unnecessary justification chips away at your value, while every confident pause reinforces it? And here's the deeper layer. When you stop explaining yourself, you force her to adjust to your world, rather than you adjusting to hers. You reclaim power, you reclaim freedom, you reclaim peace. And you communicate, without words, that your life has its own gravity, and she's welcome to orbit, not dictate the direction of your path. Now let's be clear, this isn't about arrogance or coldness, it's not about withdrawing to manipulate, it's about living with purpose, it's about maintaining emotional independence, it's about allowing her to experience desire through your grounded energy, not through your verbal effort, because here's the ultimate lesson. A man who constantly explains himself is easy to read, predictable, ordinary. A man who stops explaining himself, who keeps his frame, his calm, his life, becomes intriguing, rare, magnetic. And the more consistent you are with this micro-detachment, this refusal to over-explain, the more her mind starts spinning. Why doesn't he need me to understand him? Why is he okay without my approval? Why can't I figure him out? Every unanswered question, every space left intentionally empty builds attraction, builds desire, builds respect. So now ask yourself, are you letting your words control your power, or are you letting your presence command it? Are you trying to fix her perception, or are you standing so strong that she has to adjust herself? Are you leaking energy trying to explain, or are you cultivating a quiet force that draws her in naturally? The choice is yours, and once you stop over-explaining, once you anchor your life in purpose and detachment, she doesn't just notice, she feels it. She learns lessons she never would have while you were bending over backward. And all of this happens without a single desperate word. The subtle power of invisible boundaries. Ever notice how some men get frustrated when a woman tests them? She texts too much, cancels plans, gets distant, and instead of holding the line, most men bend, explain, or chase, and then they wonder why attraction fades. Here's the thing, women don't just respond to attention, they respond to how you manage yourself. They notice energy, not words. They feel the boundaries you set or the ones you don't set. Why do most men fail at this without realizing it? Why does saying yes to everything make you invisible? Why does being constantly available make her take you for granted? Why does over-accommodation kill attraction even when you think you're being good or caring? Let me tell you something most guys never understand. Boundaries are invisible, but their effect is huge. You don't announce them, you don't justify them, you just live them. You say, "I can't drop everything for you without a word." You pursue your purpose, your life, your goals, and let your presence speak. Ask yourself, do you let her energy dictate your schedule? Do you bend for validation, approval, or fear of conflict? Do you over-communicate to prove you're reliable or worthy? Do you feel guilty for prioritizing your life? Here's the Stoic truth. Every time you bend without reason, you shrink your own energy. Every time you chase or over-explain, you give away subtle power. Every time you ignore your priorities for approval, you teach her that your life is negotiable, and that's a magnet killer. Now imagine a different man. He sets invisible boundaries. He responds when it's aligned with his energy, not because he's afraid of missing out. He holds space for himself, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And here's the magic. Women feel it. They notice, they respect it. Not consciously at first, it's subtle, but attraction grows silently. Ask yourself again, do you struggle with saying no even when it's what you need? Do you feel anxious when she tests your availability? Do you know how to maintain calm, detached presence without being cold? Do you realize that your energy alone communicates boundaries more effectively than words ever could? The harsh truth, most men never learn this. They think attraction is about charisma, money, or attention. But real attraction comes from self-mastery and invisible limits. It comes from men who live with purpose, who don't panic, who don't over-justify, and who make their availability rare. And here's the kicker. These boundaries don't create distance because of manipulation. They create desire because she experiences a man who is already whole. She sees a life she can be part of instead of being the sole purpose. She feels the pull because your energy isn't dependent on her presence. It's independent, strong, grounded. So now ask yourself, are you bending too much for approval? Are you letting constant availability dilute your value? Are you living your life on her schedule instead of your own? Are you ready to let invisible boundaries work silently, making you magnetic without effort? Once you commit to these boundaries, something profound happens. Your energy becomes a force, your presence becomes rare, your calmness becomes attractive. Women notice, respect grows, desire grows, and the best part, you experience freedom, peace, and power, all by simply holding your line. Why absence ignites curiosity and respect. Ever wonder why some men can vanish from a woman's life for days, even weeks, and suddenly she texts back, almost desperate to reconnect? Not because he played a game, not because he chased or begged, but because his life wasn't dependent on her attention. Here's the hard truth. Most men think absence punishment. They think if they don't respond, she'll forget them, or worse, they panic. But absence isn't punishment. It's a reflection of detachment and self-priority. Ask yourself, why does she suddenly show interest when you're busy with your purpose? Why does scarcity and availability spike her curiosity and admiration? Why does your absence make your presence feel heavier, more magnetic? Why does a man who doesn't bend to emotional triggers feel untouchable? Let's break it down. Women are wired to notice energy more than effort. When you're constantly there, endlessly responding, giving validation, your energy loses weight. She notices. Not consciously maybe, but she feels it. And the pull, it disappears. The curiosity dies. The spark fades. Now imagine a man who prioritizes his goals, his growth, his mission. He answers when it aligns with his energy, not because he fears missing out. He leaves space. He doesn't chase. He lives a life full of experiences, challenges, and purpose. Suddenly, absence is no longer absence. It's mystery, desire, respect. Ask yourself, Are you too available? Do you panic when she seems distant? Do you mistake neediness for connection? Do you let your value be dictated by her attention? Do you know how to balance presence with strategic absence, without drama, without games? Here's the subtle power most men miss. Absence builds emotional gravity. Not manipulation, not mind games, just natural consequence of living a full life. She feels it. She notices your calm detachment. She senses your self-mastery. And here's the magic. Desire increases naturally. Respect deepens naturally. She wants to be part of a man's world, not the center of it. Let me ask again, do you know how to create space without over-explaining? Do you realize that scarcity is not about denial, it's about living deliberately? Do you understand that your absence can ignite attraction more than attention ever could? Here's the Stoic truth. The man who is fully himself, who is calm, self-directed and purpose-driven, controls the rhythm of the relationship without saying a word. His life sets the boundaries. His presence, rare and grounded, is magnetic. Women notice, desire naturally builds, and attraction stabilizes. Are you living your life fully, or are you bending to fill her attention? Are you letting absence be a tool of fear, or a tool of respect and attraction? Do you know that letting her curiosity breathe makes her value your presence more than constant attention ever could? Absence is not coldness, it's clarity, strength, priority, power. And when you master this, you don't chase, you don't beg. You simply live your life and everything else, respect, attraction, curiosity follows. Your freedom is your attraction. Here's the moment most men never reach. The moment they realize that everything they've been taught about chasing, proving, or overgiving is backwards. Think about it. You've spent years trying to impress. You've worried about texts, reactions, her moods. You've measured your value by her attention, and you've probably lost a lot of sleep, pride, and energy along the way. Stop. Take a breath. The harsh truth she learns after you step away is this. She can't create your life for you, and she doesn't have to. Your value isn't in constant attention, validation, or approval. Your value is in your energy, your calm, your purpose, and your ability to live fully without bending for anyone. Ask yourself, do you let your emotions run the show, or do you control your energy? Do you let availability define your worth, or do you let your life define your presence? Do you chase attention, or do you create an environment where attention naturally comes to you? Do you let your peace be dependent on her reactions, or do you remain anchored regardless? Here's the clarity. Every page you've watched has built one unstoppable principle. Detachment is not absence. Absence is not punishment. Scarcity is not manipulation. Emotional mastery is not suppression. Confidence is not validation from her. It's all about living a life so full, so purposeful, so unshakably calm that your presence alone becomes magnetic. Every boundary you set, every focus on yourself, every controlled reaction adds weight to your energy, and when she feels it, attraction rises, respect grows, curiosity turns into desire. Let me ask again, are you living your life for approval or for excellence? Are you letting scarcity happen naturally, or are you forcing it out of fear? Do you know that every choice you make to honor your own priorities increases your attraction without you ever chasing? Do you see now how calm detachment and purpose-built presence create freedom and power? Here's the undeniable truth. All the solutions have been laid out. Run Rakatras. Prioritize your life. Let her curiosity rise naturally. 2. Create space, not as punishment, but as proof of your purpose. 3. Master your emotions. Don't let them master you. 4. Value yourself through competence and self-approval, not her attention. 5. Let scarcity and absence build weight to your energy. 6. Live a life so grounded, so compelling, that attraction happens without effort. And when you internalize these truths, everything shifts. No more panic, no more chasing, no more wondering if she's into you. You become untouchable, magnetic and free. She sees the man she wants, not because you proved it, but because you lived it. This is Stoic detachment in action. Not cold, not distant, not manipulative, but firm, calm, purposeful, attractive, powerful, free. Ask yourself one last time, are you ready to step fully into this version of yourself? Are you ready to let your life create the pull, the respect, the curiosity, and the connection naturally? Because here's the ultimate reality. Once you walk away into your own life, everything you need aligns itself. Attraction, peace, freedom, and respect are no longer things you chase. They are the byproducts of a life truly lived, and now you know how.